Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Gail Carson. Welcome to Living Regret Free, a program that shows you how to live a better and more joyful life. As an added bonus, I invite you to listen to an introduction to my Mindset Matters program, which ties into this so well. Go to www.sobmindset.com. It's free, and I know you will enjoy it. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at gailcarson13@gmail.com or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter.
Hi, everyone. I am Gail Carson, and I have a great guest today, Arline Warwick. She empowers entrepreneurs and nonprofits to reach higher, to accomplish what they dream about. After learning from her own experiences and years of research, she now guides businesses through a system that reveals the easiest approach to finding corporate sponsors that are the best match for them. Well, I'll tell you, Arline, first of all, welcome.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate you inviting me back again. I know I was on your show once before, and it was a nice surprise that you contacted me, and I thank you very much.
Well, I'll tell you, we know you have a business on how to find sponsors, but we also know that you are into helping people live a better life and accomplishing their dream. So when you look at things, everything today is changing. So change is probably one of the most difficult things for anybody to acknowledge or really accept. So how important do you think it is to be open to change?
Well, it's kind of forced upon you sometimes. I have had so many changes in my life, and they weren't always of my choice. But when change happens, you just pretty much have to accept it and go with it, go with the flow. Otherwise, you're just fighting it, and there's really not a whole lot you can do about it. So unless you just kind of want to hide under the bed covers and not really take part in what's going on around you, you have to just, accept it and change with it and not get too upset about the change and just let it come naturally.
Well, it's true. Most change that happens, we do not choose. It just is thrust upon us. So,
Right.
what is something about you that has never changed since you were little?
Well, I've always loved animals and the environment. Since I was really little, I used to like to play with bugs, and I've always taken care of sick and hurt and injured animals. So that has always been with me. That is my heart's desire, is to help animals and the environment.
Well,
And that's how I started my business.
Really, how was that? What does that have to do with sponsorships?
Well, I always liked animals, and I was doing some work as a volunteer with some of the groups here where I live in Daytona Beach. And we were doing some trap, neuter, and release with the feral cats. And my niece called me one day, and she goes, "Arline, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. You've got to get here right now." And I could just hear her voice. She was like trembling. And I knew it wasn't going to be good. So I got in my car, dreading it, the hallway, and I get to this old fish camp where she is. And there were a sea of cats. There were like 40 cats. And we're in the middle of July in Florida. So it was not a pretty sight. It was horrible. I was horrified. So there were these little kittens that were they had featherweight bodies that were 3 inches long, and their heads were like big, dense golf balls. They could hardly hold them up because they were so malnourished. So I didn't know what to do. I just started picking them up and putting them in my pockets. And that's when I realized that we were not doing enough at all. We didn't have enough time, energy, money, manpower to really take care of another 40 cats. So I kind of stood back and said, well, how come some businesses and some coaches and entrepreneurs and some organizations, how come they really excel and blossom and bloom and do really well, while others just kind of reach a plateau and stay there and they never really grow? So I started, doing my research, and I found that the companies, businesses and nonprofits alike, the ones that were doing really well had corporate money backing them. They had corporations giving them money and in-kind gifts and partnering and sponsoring, partnering with them and sponsoring them. So that's when I went to work and decided, well, we'll get some sponsors too. So we did that, and we were, I was going along helping my groups, and then I decided, well, I'm doing this. I need to turn it into a business and make some money and also teach other people how to do it, because a lot of people are not aware that they can get sponsorship money. So that's how it all began.
Fantastic. Well, so you've got this business where you're helping people find sponsors for what they do and how they do it. What would you say would be the 3 most important things for you to be happy?
Happy with my business, or just happy in life?
Whatever. I think they're intertwined.
Yes. Okay. So for me to be happy, I would like to really be able to, like I said, help animals and the environment and grow my business, so I am able to do this and grow the business to show others, because there are so many people struggling, and they use all their own money to grow their businesses. They're working all the time, and they really don't have time to enjoy life when you start a new business. So I'd really like to be able to help others, show them what to do. Through that, I'm helping because I am able to do some more supportive things for the animals and the environment. And
so really, that's still your passion, and that's where you are happiest. I know I'm happiest when I'm surrounded by my animals. I mean, they cause me a lot of aggravation, and I do put up with a lot more from them than I ever would with my kids. But I do love being with them. So when you have been doing all of this and you've been looking at everything, what do you think is important in terms of the company that you keep? Do you choose certain people to surround yourself with? Do you work with certain clients that you prefer to work with? How does that work out for you?
Well, I have found that I just can't be around negative people that are always giving excuses, because it seems to me that everybody has problems, and you can't dwell on them. So, I've just started this business about 2 years ago, and I've run into so many roadblocks, not knowing what to do, how to do it, technology and so on. So I really want to be around people that are upbeat, that are the ones that have the desire to grow, and that are pretty much unstoppable and have decided that they are going to make their businesses or their nonprofits work, or, my friends too. I don't want to be around people that drag me down, because it's so easy to get into that drama and negativity. And so I have a lot of friends, but some of them I just kind of have to keep at a distance sometimes.
I know what you're saying. I do know people who are, every remark out of their mouth is negative, So,
right.
So if you could transport yourself to the happiest place in the world, where would it be for you?
Oh my goodness, that's an easy one. It would be thousands and thousands, in the middle of thousands and thousands of acres of a wildlife preserve, where I was able to plant, trees, and I was able to care for some of the injured animals, and it was just like a utopia with animals and plants and everything, was
maybe you need to be a
and,
forest ranger.
Well, I don't want to really have to. I don't like to rough it though. That's the thing. I want to be in this middle of this wildlife preserve, but I still want to have my comfortable bed.
So you want to go camping in a Winnebago, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I know. I always say that myself. I'm not one that likes to go camping, but if I'm going to go camping, it's going to be in a Winnebago. That's for sure. So, what happens when you're having a bad day? How do you change that to become happy?
Okay, well, I learned a long time ago from someone to, if you have problems, if you have troubles and things that are on your mind, just to take them all, put them in a suitcase, and throw them out to sea. And they're always there for you to retrieve whenever you want to have problems. You can just go open you can, it's rolling along on the waves. You can go get it, open it, and you'll have all your problems back. So I've learned to I've just learned to ignore a lot of the things that bother me that I can't do anything about. I've had, difficulties in my life, and I've realized that if you can't change these situations, don't dwell on them. Just, move on to something else, do the best you can, because there's always going to be something you can't change. And, sometimes it's not so easy to accept, but you have to work toward accepting it, or you have to just work toward not dwelling on it and not thinking about it all the time.
So do you think you push yourself enough, or do you not push yourself, or do you push yourself too much, or what do you think you do in your own life?
That's a funny question, because it's almost like a love-hate relationship when you start a new business. It's like one day things are going great. The next day you're like, oh my gosh, everything you can think of is not working out. And that's when it's just time to take a break. But I think sometimes I think I push myself more than I should. And other times I think I'm not pushing myself enough. So I think there's a fine line between too much and not enough. And you just kind of have to get that balance, because, if you do too much, it's not good for your health. And if you do too little, it's really easy to get lazy and just stay there.
So do you think there's something in particular that you learned and that you apply when you are having worries? Because let's face it, when you're in business, not everything goes smoothly. I mean, you say, as you said, yay, this is a victory, and then the phone rings, or you get an email or something, and disaster approaches. So, what do you think? What do you do when something like that happens? Is there a technique that you've learned?
Just today, I was looking through one of the Facebook groups I'm in, and I saw a whole bunch of people. They were doing so well and doing great, getting new clients. And so I sat there and thought, oh my gosh, it's been for me, it's been the past week or so has been a little bit rough. And I started to think, oh my gosh, this is not working for me. But then, you just have to snap out of it. And I just said to myself, everything's okay. It's all going to work out. Just because I'm not, keeping up and being able to get my clients right at this moment like they have, that's okay. They'll come. I just have to stay steady, steadfast, and just keep going and going and going. Because when you start a new business, you want everything to happen real fast, and you have to realize that it doesn't. It takes time.
So what's the biggest stumbling block you think you've had in business?
Technology.
Trying
to, as you know from a previous conversation we had.
Yeah. So the thing is, the older you get, the more technology is difficult. if you probably handed what you needed to do to a 3-year-old, they'd be able to do it. I know one time I was trying to get my granddaughter on the phone, and or on, I don't know, with email or something, or whatever it was, I couldn't get her. It was because her 2.5-year-old had figured out how to put her phone on Wi-Fi, and she was busy, getting all the stuff that she wanted to see on Wi-Fi, and I couldn't get through to her on the telephone. Now, when you were 2.5 and I was 2.5, this was still not going to be. And so, in fact, grew up in the times that there was party lines. There were 4 people on my telephone line. So, right. It's just interesting because there's things that come so naturally when they're tiny, and there's stuff that as we get older is more difficult to learn. So, but we have to do a sales job. We have to do a sales job on ourselves and keep going, because there are a lot of things that are going to test us all the time. So where do you see Arline in another couple of years? Where do you see her? Where do you see you personally? Where do you see yourself in business? Where do you see Arline?
Well, I see myself purchasing some land, quite a bit of acreage, so that I can preserve it for animals. I see myself helping some of my friends that have that take care of unwanted pets, being able to give them some funding so that they can expand their efforts and build a better. One of my friends is trying to build a shelter, so being able to help her with that. In business, I like to see. I would like to see myself being able to do a lot more with programs and events, having events. Like I am speaking now and doing a lot of networking, but I would like to see myself putting on some of my own events.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Very nice. So since we talk about living regret-free on this show, and you also have a business, which makes it sometimes difficult to live regret-free, because you're trying to keep things above water, and you're trying to always get new clients, and you're trying to do the right job for your clients. What would you say are the 2 or 3 techniques that you use in a day that allow you to say, this, I'm doing well, I'm going to get ahead, this too shall pass? What are some of the skills that you use to get yourself in this better place?
A lot of self-talk, just, reassuring myself that this will work. I'm fortunate enough that I don't, like, all my friends are retiring, and I'm just starting a new business. So I'm fortunate enough where I don't really have to go out there. It works both ways. I don't really have to work as hard as if I really needed a lot, needed money. I'm not starving. I'm pretty comfortable. On the other hand, I think that's to my detriment, because I think when you are desperate, that's the best motivation you can have to build your business. So it kind of works both ways there. But I think knowing that I have the security of a home and so on and bills paid, it really helps, loosen the burden in my mind that if I'm not doing everything today like I wanted to, there's still tomorrow. I can do it tomorrow. So that helps a lot. And I meditate. I do, some little meditations throughout the day and reassure myself. I read a lot of self-help books. I listen to all kinds of self-help CDs in my car. And I just, don't allow negatives to get into my mind. When they start creeping in, I realize it, and then I just kind of, push them out. But they're always going to creep in. So it's just the fact that you have to say, nope, I'm not going to let this happen.
So how, what on earth possessed you to go into this particular business? Strictly because you found out that some of the people who were working with animals had people who helped them?
Yeah, I wanted to go into this business so I could make money, so I could support some of my animal rescue groups, and so that they could also get support. And then it branched out into wanting to help other groups and people that were struggling, that didn't realize that they could connect with corporations, because so many people think their business is too small, they're not known, they're too new. But the money is there, but people aren't finding it because they don't know where to look, or they don't know how to look for it. And, your connections determine how much money you make. So I'm trying to help them make some of those connections.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. So, do you have something that you would like to offer to our listeners? I mean, do you have something that a freebie of some sort that they might enjoy getting from you?
Yes, I do. I have a list of 100 different corporations and contact information. And if they would like this list, they can just email me at info@findcorporatesponsors.com and just put list in the subject line. I will send that to them. And also, if they have any questions and would like to, get a consultation about, where to start, how to begin, and so on, I would be glad to talk to anyone. So they can just email me at info@findcorporatesponsors, and that's the S at the end of sponsors.com.
So that's your website, findcorporatesponsors.com.
Yes, www.findcorporatesponsors.com.
Fantastic, because we want to make sure everybody knows how to reach you and how to find your website and all of that.
Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. I choose my guests carefully, so if you have someone you'd like me to interview, please drop me a line at gailcarson13@gmail.com. In the meantime, check out my intro program, Mindset Matters, at www.sobmindset.com. See you next week.